Welcome to Stewardology, a podcast where two worlds collide. In this show, financial advisor Tim Russell and Pastor Drew Gysi are joined by me, producer Tyler Rutherford, to explore the intersection of financial stewardship and theology. Their unique perspectives help Christians and churches understand and apply a biblical framework for everyday financial decisions so Christians everywhere can grow in their walk with Christ through biblical stewardship. Before we get started, we just wanted you to know that the topics discussed in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations. Investment and investment strategies involve risk, including the potential loss of principal, and past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Securities and advisory services are offered through Genius Wealth Management, member FINRA, and SIPC. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Tim Russell, Drew Gysi, and Tyler Rutherford.
Welcome to the Stewardology Podcast. We are so glad that you took the time out of your schedule to either watch or listen in. You can watch on YouTube now, new thing for us. But I'm here with my co-hosts. We have Tyler Rutherford.
Howdy.
And we have Tim Russell.
Hello, hello.
And today we're going to be talking about another controversial topic. And what do I say by topic? It's because maybe you don't know what's happening to you, and once you learn about it, it will be controversial if you're married in your marriage. And that is how lifestyle creep keeps you from building wealth. Let me say that again. How lifestyle creep keeps you from building wealth. It could be detrimental in the end. So there's a case study that we kind of fabricated, and I think it'd be good that we put this case study before so it kind of lays the baseline for us.
Yeah, so we have a gentleman, married gentleman. He and his wife are in their 60s. Again, this is a hypothetical scenario, right? They're making about $300,000 a year. So we would argue that's a pretty good income.
That's a very good income.
I don't think anybody would be complaining about that. Now, he wants to retire at age 65. They're in their early 60s. So they've got, let's just say, 5 years left. They have $1.5 million invested. So it's not chump change. They've been able to build some wealth. But the problem is that they still have a mortgage, $150,000 a year. They have car loans. I'm sorry. When I said they have a mortgage $150,000 a year, I mean they have a mortgage of $150,000, right? That's a big mortgage. It's a 30-year mortgage. They're not on track to pay it off within the next 5 years, although they should be, but they're not. They have car loans of $60,000 to $80,000, and they're spending roughly $3,000 a month on mortgage, $1,400 a month on car payments. Now, they have a very robust income, but sadly, all of their income is going towards paying off the credit card, paying for all of the trinkets and toys, eating out a fair amount, being just extravagant in the way that they live their lives. This is creating pressure. Because now whether they want to retire, and by all rights, they should be able to retire with ease and comfort, having $1.1 million and good Social Security incomes. They don't have the flexibility in their budget to handle market vibrations or market volatility while still paying off their cars and dealing with their mortgage and paying off their credit cards. They're used to living on $300,000 a year, but there's no way in retirement that they're going to be able to maintain that level of income. They just can't. How far is $300,000 a year going to go? I'm sorry. Let me ask the question a different way. How far is $1.1 million going to go? How long will that last if you have to use $200,000 a year to supplement your income?
Not even 4 years.
Not even close. right? You've got serious problems. So one of the things that we're trying to deal with today is exposing the danger of lifestyle creep. As you become more successful in your work, as you become more valuable employee, you earn more. But if you earn more and you spend more, you earn more, you spend more, you earn more, you spend more, and you're not actually increasing the margin of savings, the margin of giving, the margin that you need in your budget to just have reserves, you're going to retire and you'll be used to a lifestyle that's way out here, but your income is only going to be here. Those are the scenarios that as a financial advisor cause me a little bit of heart palpitations, because these clients are not providing themselves the kind of spending discipline and spending controls to avoid debt in retirement. If you go into debt in retirement, you're destroying your income ability in retirement. You're destroying your margin ability when we have market volatility in retirement. You're limiting the length of time that your portfolio is realistically going to be able to provide for your needs. This is why we have to deal with lifestyle creep before we enter retirement.
Yeah, so I think to just explain, to put it really simply, cookies on the bottom shelf, right? We would recommend living on less than you earn. Let's say you need $60,000 to live and your income goes up to 100, 120, 130, 150, and you still just are living on $60,000. You have more margin to give more, to save more, to do those things. But lifestyle creep, you start living on more and more of your income.
Well, the illustration you give is a really, I think, instructive one. First of all, I'm not saying that you can't spend more as you make more. I'm not. If you go from, let's say you're making 80, you're living on 60. Now you make 100 and you go to 70. Like, okay, I can deal with that.
That's okay.
We're okay. We're making some progress because you still got another $10,000 that you're saving. You got 120 and maybe you're still doing 80 to 85. Like, that's fine. You just want to be careful that you don't feel entitled.
Yeah.
That, hey, I make X, I can spend X. We need to make sure that our consumption is lower than our standard of living and allow growth in our income to fuel our savings, to fuel our generosity towards family members, kids, and towards others, to like things like generosity, giving to church, giving to missions, and things like that.
Hey, Tim, not in your business, but in the industry of financial advising, how often is this seen?
Lifestyle creep?
Yeah.
For people like who are in kind of successful career paths all the time. Absolutely all the time. You know, I'm talking with one client. He's a great guy. I love this guy. He's just a great sense of humor, good Christian man. But he says, look, I need $200,000 in retirement just because A, I have the money, and B, I really like to spend money, and I like to buy stuff on Amazon.
That's $200,000 a year.
A year, yeah.
Okay.
Now this guy's got the income. He's got the assets to provide that income. He's got other income sources in retirement other than, say, Social Security,
right?
Where that's actually not a stretch for him. But I think he's probably more of the exception than the rule for people that I generally meet. Oftentimes, the only guaranteed source of income in retirement is Social Security. And that's only going to provide, at the best, let's just say $60,000 to $80,000 a year, because they had a big income in their careers. And maybe he and his wife had big incomes in their careers. That's why you're at $60,000 to $80,000. But at the first death, that goes away, right? That's going to be reduced. You'll lose the smaller of the two Social Securities. And we've got to make sure there's enough money invested to generate replacement income, and then that delta between what you want to spend and what you have from Social Security.
So lifestyle creep is keeping you from building wealth because you're just consuming all that you're earning, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Your lifestyle is increasing and you're just consuming that money. Whereas if you kept that margin and you were doing something intentional with it, such as investing it or building a business with it, that would allow you to build wealth. But if you just consume it on Amazon or other things, it's just poof, gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And so What causes lifestyle creep? Drew, I'm sure you see this all the time being on the road with Life Institute, talking to people about budgeting, and this is probably a really common problem.
Well, there's a phrase that we talked about offline that I've used before is you actually feel richer without actually being richer. You feel richer because you're consuming, but the consumption that you have, the stuff you're getting is not rising your asset level. It's just stuff, it's experiences, it's other things. So you feel that way, but you're not raising your asset level to actually have a bigger portfolio.
It's the difference between being rich and being wealthy.
Say that again and explain it.
Yeah, it's the difference between rich and being wealthy. A rich person has a big income, can buy lots of nice, shiny things. They're rich in that sense. But the nice, shiny things don't grow in value. They're consumptive things. They're cars. They're, just lifestyle trips.
Are you trashing cars, okay? Watch
They
yourself.
are depreciating assets, sir. I know that there are some collectibles that can go up in value, but the vast majority of people are not buying collectibles. They're buying cars that they erode their value. So what I mean by they are rich and not wealthy is that they're investing in consumables, in experiences and things that actually don't grow in value. Wealthy people take their income, take their riches, quote unquote, and invest them into things that are going to grow in value, maintain their value. They invest in retirement plans. They invest in real estate. They invest in other forms of assets that will maintain their value. And in so doing, they become wealthy. Rich, you're only rich while you make an income.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to say that.
Wealthy people maintain their wealth even if their income goes away. That's the difference between wealthy and rich.
So what are some causes for lifestyle creep?
Let me jump on the first one because I see this all the time in our seminar.
You all the time. That's right. Just kidding.
Boy, did I get slammed on that one. I see this all the time as we interact in our seminars, and that's just discontentment.
Yeah.
They're not satisfied with what they have and what God has provided for them. And there's that, I'll go as far as saying even that idea of selfishness. They see what's happening across the church aisle or across the church parking lot, and I want that. And it causes them to raise their expense, but yet they have not raised their income. And it becomes that challenge. And they're borrowing from tomorrow for today, which gives them ultimately a lower standard of living today and tomorrow. It may look like the Lexus is doing good for me, but the bottom line is I've had struggle taking care of my taxes this year.
Yeah, they might see the Lexus you're driving, but they don't see the $1,500 payment you're making for it every month, right?
Every month.
Well, that's connected to the next point, which is that social comparison and peer pressure, that keeping up with the Joneses idea, where just like you said, you see your buddy or you see someone at church or work, they have the nice thing, and you feel like I gotta do that too, right? I gotta keep up the image, and you end up living that consumptive lifestyle without actually increasing your wealth.
There are lots of stories about people working in these investment banking jobs where they give out the bonuses. The bonuses are notoriously huge, like a couple $100,000 bonus. So wouldn't that be nice, right?
Why don't we get that in this company?
Because you can't generate more or share more than the employee generates. So how's that sound? If you generate
I got slammed on that one, didn't I? I'm not going to ask that. Yeah, this is my last episode, guys. See you some other time.
So in the investment banking world, right, these guys get these big bonuses. Well, so if you're trying to be a good steward, but your coworker in the next cubicle is buying a sports car, like you feel a certain amount of pressure, like to show that you still made money too. And like, you have to demonstrate that the riches through buying something that becomes flashy, keeping up with the Joneses, making that status symbol element. Yeah. It's a big problem. Okay. A third area where we see the cost or the lifestyle creep come in is this entitlement mentality or reward mentality, which is tied with what I just shared about like the whole investment banking thing. When you make a high degree of income, you think, well, I deserve a pool. I deserve a sports car. I don't want to buy the Toyota Camry. I want to buy the Lexus or the BMW or the Mercedes Benz. I want the status symbol associated with what I think I make or what I think I should be entitled to. That creates lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
The next one is, and this one, again, I see this through our seminars, is increase income without financial discipline. What happens is we get this increase in income and we just wind up spending. We see it, we look at our bank account, and our bank account is our gauge of how much I can spend that week, that month. Instead of saying, I got to take care of not just today, but tomorrow and next week and next month and the years to come, I got to look ahead and see the evil of 20, 30 years of unemployment, which is called retirement. Yeah. And I'm not putting into that outside of maybe a trinket into my 401k at work. And we think we're going to be able to be okay. But the bottom line is we have that increased income and we don't have that financial discipline to say, I need to pull back.
This often shows up when we see sudden wealth, sudden amounts of income. So if we got a person that, let's say they win the lottery, they get an inheritance, they win a baseball, football, basketball contract, a deal, and now they're making millions of dollars a year. They're going from making $50,000 a year to now having either a substantial amount of wealth or a substantial amount of income. The problem with the sudden wealth or the sudden income scenario is that you don't have the life experience to develop the skills and the discipline to be financially wise with the money. Therefore, you think I can afford to spend it. There's this story of a famous musician who ended up suing her financial advisor. And the financial advisor said, she sued because she ran out of money. And the financial advisor said, I didn't think I had to tell her that she couldn't both spend her money and have it too. I didn't think I needed to tell her that. She did not have the wisdom to have the financial discipline to understand how to maintain and manage the wealth that she had accumulated through her income and through her work singing and producing albums.
I think the next one is actually the root cause of those things. It's the lack of financial literacy in education. When you don't really even understand the principles of how money works or what investment options there are out there, or just even understanding that I can't spend more than I make without going underwater. I mean, that's a big problem. So when you lack that financial education, that financial literacy, you see lifestyle creep really coming on strong.
Yeah. The next one is similar. It's actually, I should rephrase, it's not similar. It's a little deceptive because it goes two ways. It's gradual habit shifts cause lifestyle creep. And there's a certain amount of it that's fine, and there's a certain amount of that's dangerous and bad. Let me give you an example. You start making more money. Let's say your time now is worth $100 an hour, not $20 an hour. It probably makes sense for you to pay someone to mow your grass than it does for you to mow your grass, right? It probably pays for you to have someone change your oil than for you to do that. There's a habit shift that has happened now that may be appropriate. At the same time, if you start having an entitlement mentality, I don't want to do anything that's lower value than what I can get with my hourly rate, then we're going to allow our spending to bloat probably faster than our income is going to bloat. And that's all because of a kind of an entitlement mentality. So we can't let those habit shifts become unhealthy. Let me give you an example of maybe a positive habit shift. For me, I've got a good income. I'm doing okay. But I'm saving and I'm investing and I'm trying to grow my wealth while maintaining a good income. Part of what that means is I'm working hard. So there are some days where my wife, she's at a birth or she's got something going on where she's not home. And I've got like a dozen things going on in the evening with my boys. They've got to get places. They got to do things. It's a lot more convenient for me to go and get food out. Like last night, I bought Chipotle and brought it home so that we could eat quickly so the boys could get out to their things. That way I didn't have to leave work early and sacrifice that time to make dinner. I could just bring it home. That's an example of there are times when that is right and appropriate and fine. Now, if that's what I'm doing every single night because I'm lazy or because I don't want to invest in an actually good home cooked meal, not only is that unhealthy for me financially, it's unhealthy for me physically.
Even worse if you're in debt and doing that,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The last thing on this non-exhaustive list is access to credit and debt. You go on your Chase app or whatever it is that you use and you see, oh, I have a credit limit of this amount of dollars. Why not use it? That could really lead you to financial bondage. And kind of like we saw in our case study, you had a guy that really wants to retire, but he's got a lot of debt. And so debt decreases your standard of living. You let lifestyle creep sneak up on him, and now he can't actually do what he wants to do. And if it's there, so why not use it mentality is dangerous for sure.
Using other people's money. Come on now. OPM. Got to use other people's money.
Who would have thought?
So, Drew, there's a scripture from Hebrews 13:5 that I think is pretty relevant here. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, it says, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have. What a great passage of scripture for us to think about here. Contentment, and Paul even talks about that. He has learned to be content. That's the thing that we struggle with. We don't want to learn anymore. We just want. And we need to get to that point where we need to be content. And again, as the author here of Hebrews says, keep your lives free from the love of money.
Yeah.
Money's not the evil. It's the loving of the money that's become the evil for us.
Yeah. It's the love of the money or what money can buy for us.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then also in Romans 12:2, it says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I love this passage because it allows us to go countercultural. Do not conform to what's going out there, to what's being seen, done, and heard around you, but allow the word, and the word that talks about money, finances, stewardship, investing, all this stuff, let that be a transformative piece to renew your mind so that you can actually do what the Word of God says. I love those things. Now, how do we go about stopping this lifestyle creep? Tyler, start us off.
Well, there are 6 things we can do to stop lifestyle creep from stealing our future. Ooh. But number 1 is giving. We've said it a lot on this podcast that giving breaks the power of money in our lives. So as our income increases, our giving should also increase in step.
Yeah. We also need to learn contentment. Don't allow ourselves to be allured by the shiny. Not all that glitters is gold, right?
Yeah, what about automate savings and investing? Do it automatically. So when your paycheck comes in, boom, money goes out for savings, money goes out for investing. So you don't have it there easily accessible.
Yeah, build wealth.
Amen.
With your income.
Yeah, create margin. So don't let the spending rise with every increase of pay that you get. Create that margin we talked about earlier.
Use quote unquote stealth wealth principles. What is that? Well, it's simply this. As your income increases, don't increase your lifestyle. Don't let other people know that you're doing super awesome and well because you're going out and buying boats and RVs and all the toys. No, allow that wealth to continue to accumulate, save and invest. You don't have to be flashy.
It's funny, we work here at a wealth management firm, and we have some clients that have a good amount of money, high net worth individuals. And I'm always curious, like, what kind of car are they driving? So sometimes I'll go up and peek. And I'll tell you, man, more often than not, they're driving like a 10-year-old beater. We might have someone that's worth a couple million, but he's, doesn't matter. He's investing into things that actually matter and will grow instead of, flashy cars. I love that.
Yeah.
I worked for my father-in-law for years, and we worked on a golf course for a period of time, helping out with it. And I knew the owner of the golf course. He very, very wealthy. He would come riding down the golf course in his backhoe. So I mean, literally riding down, and he would just putz around in his backhoe. He was happy with his
Destroying
backhoe.
the greens.
Yeah, well, he didn't care. He owned it. He owned it. So, but he rode on the edge. So, just so you know. And then, what about this next one? About knowing the difference between appropriate and inappropriate lifestyle creep.
Yes.
The appropriate one is having children and
Getting married, buying a house.
Yeah.
Like these are life stages that
it's more of a life stage thing. Yes.
Yeah, the appropriate lifestyle creep, Tim, like you just mentioned, getting married and having kids, like your expenses are going to go up, and that's appropriate. It's actually a good thing when you have kids and you're spending money on milk and all these things. Like it's a good thing. Like
you've been there recently.
You're being fruitful and multiplying. Yeah,
you've been there recently.
I'm not saying it's easy. But then there's the inappropriate lifestyle creep where your financial goals really aren't met. You're not really saving for retirement. You're not giving the way you should be. And yet you're buying the Rolex or you're buying whatever and you're putting on a credit card and you're plunging yourself into debt. And all those external trappings, they look really good, right? Like I'm looking rich, but in reality, your financial picture is looking very poor.
Yeah. Stop accumulating debt, start accumulating wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a good stewardship application for us as we kind of shift on in here? Let's just go through these 5 things real quick. Go ahead. Go around the horn here.
Number 1, build an emergency fund. Make sure that you don't go into debt when something happens.
Yeah. Get out of debt.
Save for the future.
Give more.
Yeah. Increase that generosity. Okay. Yeah. And once we've done all of this, it's okay to have luxuries. It's okay to have the nice to haves in addition to the have to haves in your budget.
These are some 5 key things that we believe are very important. Build that emergency fund, get out of debt, save for the future, increase your generosity. Then at that point, go have some fun with what you got, but do those other things first. So lifestyle creep should not happen without accompanying an increase in generosity. That's one of the things we're passionate about. In fact, generosity should increase in a greater proportion. As God is blessing you, bless kingdom work even greater. So as we close out this episode of the Stewardology Podcast, we're talking about how lifestyle creep keeps you from building wealth. Let's hold fast to this truth. Lifestyle creep can silently erode your financial future. But biblical stewardship empowers you to build lasting wealth to provide for your family, support generous kingdom work that's happening, all for God's glory. Hebrews 13:5 calls us to be content. 2 Corinthians 9:7 inspires cheerful giving. Proverbs 21:5 champions diligent planning. And together, these principles free you from the trap of this creep that's coming up against you, sometimes even silently. You're not bound by the urge to spend more. And as a child of the Most High God, He's equipped you to thrive with wisdom and with discipline. So this week, take an intentional step. Here's some ideas for you to review. Number 1, look over your budget. Find that one category of your budget that maybe you can cut some of the spending or eliminate totally. Maybe boost your giving by a small percentage to your church. Or start an emergency fund or build it up just a little bit more. We always say, $1,000 is good, but let's get to 3 to 6 months worth of savings because life happens. And maybe cut out some non-essential expenses like unsubscribing from those streaming services you've been paying for 3 years that you haven't turned on in those 3 years, but they've been collecting that money from you. So we encourage you. Consider taking a look over things. Find one or more things that you can do intentionally to become that even better steward.
Yeah, and talk to your spouse about it too. Mm-hmm. Have a conversation about lifestyle creep with your spouse.
Yeah, and you know what? If you got a busy home, maybe you need to get a sitter, and the two of you get out and have that kneecap to kneecap, heart to heart. Get one banana split, and the two of you talk it over together. I'm all for. You don't have to buy 2. 2 spoons, one.
It's called a banana split for a reason, right? You can split it.
I didn't realize that. I just learned something new, and I don't like bananas. But we encourage you, take that time and interact together so this lifestyle creep doesn't sneak up on you.
Yeah. Well, until next time, take care, God bless, and allow for generosity and savings creep, but avoid lifestyle creep.
Thanks for joining us on the Stewardology Podcast, where financial stewardship and theology meet. We'd like to help you take your next steps in biblical financial stewardship. Subscribe in your podcast provider to get the newest episode delivered to you every week. Leave a 5-star rating and review to help new listeners find the show. Take advantage of your free personal stewardship review at stewardologypodcast.com/review. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at stewardologypodcast.com for tons of free resources and hundreds of free episodes. You can also leave episode ideas at stewardologypodcast.com/idea. Remember, Psalm 20, verse 7, some trust in chariots and some trust in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. See you next week.